Oil just crossed $108 a barrel, and the stock market just had its worst day since this war started. Not since last week, not since last month, since the beginning. And honestly, that should tell you everything about where we are right now. But hold on, because there is more coming. Europe just accused Russia of feeding intelligence to Iran. Intelligence used to target American soldiers. The Pentagon is looking at deploying 10,000 more troops to the Middle East. And Iran, well, Iran turned the Strait of Hormuz into the most expensive toll road on the planet. We have a lot to unpack, so let us get into it. Accuse. The S&P 500 dropped to its lowest point since September. The Nasdaq 100 fell by 2%, and the tech sector, which investors had been treating like some kind of safe harbor away from the chaos of war, well, it got absolutely hammered. You think that is all? Oil, Brent crude, is trading near $108 a barrel. WTI is hovering around 94. The yield on 10-year Treasury bonds has climbed by 50 basis points since this conflict started, sitting now at 4.42%. And here's the part that really gets you. One major investment bank just put out a forecast $200 a barrel if this war stretches into June. Think about that for a second. 200. At that point, we are not talking about expensive gas anymore. We are talking about an entirely different economy. On top of all of that, new research out of Google showed that a fresh algorithm could slash the memory requirements for running large language models. Now, normally, that is interesting tech news and nothing more. But in this environment, it sent shockwaves through the chip memory sector. Companies that supply the memory for AI systems, the ones in South Korea and Japan, they took a beating. The South Korean stock index fell more than 4%. Their currency weakened to levels not seen since the global financial crisis, all because one paper suggested that the AI hardware boom might not be as hardware hungry as everyone assumed. Now, let us talk about what is happening with the ceasefire, or rather, what is not happening. The administration posted on social media that the pause in strikes on Iranian energy targets would be extended for another 10 days. This is the third extension now. First it was 48 hours, then 5 days, now 10 more. The statement said, negotiations are going very well, but here is the thing. Iran denies there are any negotiations at all. None. Not direct, not through intermediaries, nothing. And that morning, at a cabinet meeting, the opposite message came through. The quote was, and I want to get this right, I do not know if we can make a deal. I do not know if we are ready for it. So in the span of a few hours, the same administration said talks are going great, and also that a deal might be impossible. You see where this is going? These are not mixed signals anymore. This is a random number generator operating in national security mode. Meanwhile, Iran responded to a 15-point proposal sent through a third country. But their counter-demands tell you just how far apart both sides really are. Sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, military reparations, guarantees against future attacks. Those are not opening positions in a negotiation. Those are terms you present when you believe you are winning. And speaking of that strait, here is what Iran is actually doing on the ground, or rather on the water. They are letting ships through, selectively. Vessels from countries Iran considers neutral can pass for a fee. We are talking up to $2 million per ship. Some of those payments are reportedly being made in yuan. One Southeast Asian country confirmed that its ships are getting through. Honestly, you have to appreciate the audacity. Iran has turned one of the most critical shipping lanes on Earth into a private toll road, and the world is paying. Every tanker that sails through there adds cost. Every cost gets passed on, and every price increase ends up in someone's grocery bill halfway around the world. Now, here is where it gets really interesting, and I mean geopolitically interesting. At a meeting of the world's leading democracies in France, European foreign ministers made a startling accusation. They said Russia is helping Iran in its attacks on American forces. Specifically, they claimed that satellite imagery and drone technology, the same kind used in the war against Ukraine, is being shared with Tehran. The top European diplomat put it bluntly, Russia is helping Iran with intelligence for attacks on Americans, for killing Americans. The French foreign minister confirmed that there are grounds to believe Russia is supporting Iranian military efforts directed primarily against American targets. And what did the American Secretary of State say in response? He downplayed it. His take was that Russia is mostly focused on its own war. Now listen, when your closest allies are telling you that the country invading Ukraine is also helping the country attacking your soldiers, and your response is basically, I am sure they are busy, that is not diplomacy, that is willful blindness, accuse. And here is the piece that ties the energy picture together. Ukrainian drones just hit major Russian oil infrastructure. We are talking about facilities that were responsible for 3 to 4% of the world's liquefied natural gas production. When you add that to the roughly 30% of global capacity already knocked offline in the Middle East, primarily from the Gulf region, the world has now lost about a third of its LNG supply. But it does not stop there. Those same strikes took out export capacity for hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil per day from one port and over 1 million barrels per day from another. Combined, that volume is comparable to about half of what one major Asian country imports from Iran. These are not symbolic strikes. They are reshaping the global energy map, and this is exactly why the visit to Saudi Arabia matters. By destroying Russian export capacity, Ukraine has effectively raised the value of Middle Eastern and African oil. That is leverage. That is a seat at the table that no one expected. The country fighting for its survival just became a strategic partner for every oil-producing nation that benefits from higher prices. And then there is the intelligence story that frankly should worry everyone. According to a closed briefing in the Senate Intelligence Committee, the president categorically refuses to read intelligence reports. The Director of National Intelligence adapted by turning classified briefings into video presentations. Think about that. The most sensitive national security information in the world, the kind that determines whether people live or die, is now being condensed into short clips because the person receiving it will not read a document. One analyst drew a comparison to a wartime leader who made decisions based on propaganda newsreels about military victories. It is a harsh comparison, but when you are making decisions about a war in the Middle East without reading the actual intelligence, what would you call it? And that brings us to what might be the most alarming development of all. The Pentagon is now studying whether to send an additional 10,000 troops to the region. This is on top of the forces already deployed. The stated purpose is to expand the president's military options. But here is what makes this surreal. The Speaker of the House went on record saying the operation is close to wrapping up and that no ground invasion is being planned. He called the troop buildup a signal to Iran, not preparation for anything larger. So let me get this straight. The operation is almost over, and that is why we need 10,000 more soldiers. That is a sentence that belongs in a textbook of military doublespeak. A retired four-star general was even more direct. He said, and I am paraphrasing, if you like or dislike what is happening now, hold on, because it is about to get significantly worse. Analysts are warning that a dramatic escalation could come as early as this weekend. The sides are, in the words of one observer, extremely far apart. Iranian demands are unacceptable to the United States. American demands are unacceptable to Iran. And somewhere in between, ships are being charged $2 million to pass through a strait, oil is climbing toward levels that could reshape the global economy, and the person making the decisions is watching video briefings instead of reading them. Every story you just heard, the markets, the troops, the intelligence failures, the energy strikes, they all connect, and they all point in the same direction. This is not a crisis with an exit ramp. This is a crisis building on itself, layer by layer, and the decisions being made right now, or not being made, will determine what the next chapter looks like. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one. If this breakdown helped you see the bigger picture, hit the like button. YouTube's algorithm uses engagement to decide who sees this video, so one click from you can put it in front of thousands of people who need to hear it. If you are not subscribed yet, now is a good time. We break down stories like this every single day, connecting the dots that mainstream coverage misses. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss an episode. Producing independent content like this takes real work, research, fact-checking, writing, editing, and we do it without corporate sponsors shaping the message. If you value that, consider supporting us through Super Thanks or a channel membership. It directly helps us stay independent. Drop a comment below, tell me what you think. I read everyone, and your thoughts genuinely shape what we cover next. Thank you for being part of this community. I will see you tomorrow.